Bye, Lynn.
All right. So we're going to be talking about negotiating salaries today. And I just want to start off by saying that salary negotiation is an extremely complicated and nuanced art form. It truly is. And what we're doing today in 30 minutes nowhere near covers everything that you could know about negotiating salaries. This is just allowing you to kind of think about doing salary negotiations. And then also we're going to get some practice role-playing a negotiation together. So we'll start off with who I am. My name is Melissa Swearingen, and I'm a junior in the computer science program. I moved to Bend 4 years ago, and before that, I had lived in DC my whole life. For just under a decade, I worked as a purchasing agent. So I've spent a large part of my life negotiating, buying, and selling things. So I feel pretty qualified to talk to you guys today about how to negotiate. Granted, purchasing is quite different from a salary negotiation, but the basic concepts are the same. So we'll start off with what a salary negotiation is. And that is just the process in which you and your employer settle on the amount for your salary or for your benefits or for any of those things that you could get from that employer. And why do we do this? Mainly because whatever raise you're going to be receiving in the future is a direct correlation to what that initial salary is. So your raise will be a percentage of what your starting salary is. And I don't know where the paper is, but it's something ridiculous. Like on average, people miss out on like $500,000 worth of earnings because they refuse to negotiate their salary. So it's quite a bit, it makes quite a bit of a difference. I'll have to find that paper so that I can get that exact number, but we want to consider that. I'm just taking notes. I'm not taking notes. Listen, you type away. You can work on homework while I do this. So to boil down what negotiation is you want to make a plan to negotiate, then you want to actually negotiate with your employer, and then you want to take the time to consider your offer and your opportunities before you say yes or no. And so what that can look like prior to the actual negotiation is researching your worth, which would be researching how valuable you are because of the degree that you've received or the pro dev that you've done in your life, or what other similar positions in your area salary ranges are. And you want to just educate yourself as much as possible before going into an interview or a job acceptance, just so that you know what you're getting into. And then when you actually talk to your employer, you don't want to say yes to everything or no to everything immediately. I think that's one of the more challenging aspects of salary negotiations, because you want a job and you want that security of just saying yes, and you don't want to be turned down or have to continue the interview process, which we all know is not super fun. And so what you want to try and do is, while you're talking to your employer, just say, hey, I want to know what the value of this role is, instead of, well, what am I going to get paid? What does this role mean to you? And like using terms like that will really help you prevent you from saying, oh, well, this is what I expect. And it'll also keep the employer from saying, this is as much as I can pay you. And then most importantly, after you get a job offer, take your time, just slow down and relax, because you'll have lots of opportunities during the interview and job offer process to talk to employers about money. It shouldn't be the first thing that you talk about. It should be the very last thing. You want to know about the company and the role that you're about to walk into. And that employer wants to know how valuable you are as a person and a potential employee. And then finally, once you guys have showed each other how much you like each other, that's when you can start talking about money. But it doesn't have to be immediately. I know for myself, something that can be really intimidating and scary is after the interview process, you're sent a job offer and they say, you get the job and this is what we're paying you. And it's very tempting at that point to say, okay, I accept. But what I think a lot of recent graduates and people in general don't understand is that at that phase, once the company has declared what they want to pay you, they are actually expecting you to come back with a counteroffer. And that counteroffer could be a change in salary, a change in the benefits, or even maybe something like assistance relocating. But you want to just know what your options are before that point happens, and then say, hey, I need 24 or 48 hours to consider what you've sent me, and then shoot them back a counteroffer. So something that's highly debated in the negotiations world is who goes first. Whether it's you saying, oh, well, my salary requirements are this, or an employer revealing, oh, well, this is what we are willing to pay you. This part of the negotiation process is the most stressful. I liken it to the first move playing tic-tac-toe. Some moves are better than others. My personal take on it is to wait as long as possible to reveal what you are willing to accept. But for other people, that's not the case. They like to know, they like to hear a starting offer from the company that then they can manipulate and play around with. And it really is a personal preference thing. And it depends on your situation. Like, for example, if you require a minimum salary to even consider a job, that would be something that would be valuable for the employer to know, because if they can't meet your minimum salary requirement, then this just might not be a good fit for you at all. And other like scenarios where this situation could change. And finally, once the negotiation process is complete, say, hopefully you got what you wanted. You got lots and lots of money. That would be amazing. But sometimes you don't, and that's perfectly okay. The first thing you should do is cry a lot. No, just kidding. Don't do that. Don't cry. I've done it, but it doesn't really change anything. So what you want to do is kind of evaluate your options at this point. Something that is important, especially for women out there, is addressing pay parity or the wage gap, and having that kind of conversation with your employer is really valuable, not just for yourself, but for all women and people in the industry. And then there are other things that are really important to talk about, such as cost of living. For example, if you're finding a job here in Bend, the cost of living is changing rapidly. And the employers here in town might not realize that it's extra challenging to find housing here or just to afford to live here. And so you want to find the data that supports, hey, this is the cost of living in the town where I'll be moving to, and this salary needs to reflect that. But that is a conversation for later. So what I always like to do is say, I get a job offer, I accept it. It's not what I wanted. Next year, when raises come around, that's the time to discuss these with your employer. You don't want to be like hounding them constantly. It's awkward. And then finally, if your employer is unwilling to pay you what you are truly worth, then it's time to look for another job. And that's perfectly acceptable. There are a million resources out there that talk about the art of negotiation. These are 4 books that have all the exact same title, and they're written by 4 different people. These are fine resources, but what I find more valuable are some of the free resources out there. Glassdoor and LinkedIn have salary estimations. I didn't put on here, but salary.com, that is a really important resource. It has lots of different positions and the ranges that you could find in your area and nationally. And I think that's one of the easiest ways to figure out what you and the position are worth and try to come to meet some happy medium. Plus, salary.com has these beautiful graphs that kind of like show you how many people are getting paid which salary. It's just beautiful. It's a great website. And then also talk to recruiters and your mentors. If you get a job offer and you are entering into the negotiation phase, you have taken that time, hopefully, to say, hey, I got the job offer. I'm going to need 1 to 2 days to consider it. Reach out to somebody and say, hey, this is the situation I'm in. What should I do? What do you think would be my best next steps? Because I guarantee you there's somebody out there who will tell you something that maybe I didn't cover during this lecture today, and it'll be essential to helping you get the salary that you really want. And then lastly, these 2 books are amazing. They are not about negotiations, but they are about how to talk to people, which I think is a skill that computer science majors really lack. Rebel Talent is about taking social norms and completely flipping them on their head and making them work for you in a really positive and powerful way. And then Talking to Strangers is a book about miscommunication and misunderstandings and how you can prevent those kinds of uncomfortable interactions from happening. And those subtleties in communication, I think, will be really valuable to you all in the negotiation process. So I think now we'll go into breakout rooms and do a little bit of role playing, because I think the best way to learn how to negotiate is to do it. So I'm just going to divide it up randomly, or let the computer divide it up. And then half of you will be in a